Stanley, thank you so much for making this great, great film. It's the perfect punctuation for our program today, Communities of Resilience, whereas one community we have here that is resilient and striving, though it has its difficulties, and San Juan Hill that got wiped out with Robert Moses. So I'm going to ask you the 101 question of documentarians. Why did you make the film, Stanley?
I was approached by Lincoln Center, and they said they wanted to make a film about San Juan Hill. And, I was a little skeptical at first, but, they convinced me that they really wanted, kind of warts and all, or one big wart, and all. And so we started researching the film. I knew, a little bit. I had heard the term San Juan Hill for the neighborhood, but when I started, I didn't know anything about the history really.
And where did you find so much of the great archival footage?
A bit of everywhere. One of the advantages when we started making the film is that Lincoln Center had already started digging into their history. They had a jazz concert, kind of where they had a composer compose music for San Juan Hill. They had started talking to the residents. And so they had some names of people who had lived there. And one of the things that was so amazing about the people is that some of them kept in contact. So, once we found one person, we said, well, do you know anybody else? And they said, oh yeah, I know a couple of people, and it would just spread from there. And everybody we talked to, of course, we'd say, hey, do you have any pictures? Did you ever see anybody who was taking a Super 8 millimeter film or any pic, and so we just started collecting that way.
Well, it's an extraordinary collection, Stanley. What is Lincoln Center planning on doing with the wall?
Yeah, that's one of the things that is really interesting. They are planning to tear down the wall. Anybody that has been to that side of Lincoln Center, or even in the film, you get a good idea. I mean, it's really a wall that faces the neighborhood, and there's no way to get in to the Lincoln Center campus from Amsterdam Avenue, where the Amsterdam houses were and the Phipps houses. So they are planning to tear down the wall. It's a complicated process, I think, because they also have to move the amphitheater that's there. That a lot of people know, that would be where the new entrance would be. So it's a bit of an architectural dilemma, but they are centered on really removing the wall and making an entrance from the west side of the Lincoln Center campus.
Opening it up to the city. There's not going to be a mural. Somehow I thought there was going to be a mural on a piece of the wall, but that's not so, correct?
There is a mural on one side of the building, the side that faces 65th Street, is it? There's a huge mural, the abstract kind of thing that represents San Juan Hill.
Okay. Several people in the audience, and I'm going to turn it over to them now, talked about seeing San Juan Hill posters, letters, announcements all over the city. And why is that, Stanley? You don't?
Uh, I'm not sure what people are seeing. I mean, Lincoln Center is making a concerted effort to um, bring back some of the knowledge of San Juan Hill for the people of New York. So maybe that's why. Hopefully.
Hopefully, part of that. I know your film opened at Lincoln Center, and it was sold out. So,
Yeah, it was a great event, and we were part of the New York Film Festival in the fall, and we invited everybody that could come that was in the film and related to the film, and a bunch of people came who were in the film, but also people from the neighborhood, and they were pointing people out during the film. Hey, that's Joe. That's Maria. They were just great, and it was a great thing, a great night for us and for Lincoln Center.
Yes, and for community, that
Yeah, and for
people
the
that
for-
people don't forget the connections that they make even from years ago. So I'm going to turn this over to the audience. I'm sure we have some questions here. We have two microphones. So a question is one right here.
Hi, Stanley. I'm the mother of Catherine McMillan, who was working with you when she was much younger, when you were doing Jonestown. And she's living in the city now, and I'm wondering, do you know where she could see this film?
Um, we are seeking distribution. Lincoln Center is seeking distribution now. So just keep in contact. I think it's a little bit different from uh, the filmmaking process that I'm used to, because there is no, usually when you finish a film, you're desperate to get it out there. There isn't that kind of desperation because Lincoln Center is Lincoln Center, and it'll be there. So they're really just now trying to push the film out. So soon.
Soon, check Stanley's website. That might get information. Some other questions, please. You have an opportunity here. There's a question right here in the front. Taylor, right here.
Okay, go ahead. Next, right?
We'll come back to you.
Excuse me. Thank you. Mine is not a question. About 3 weeks ago, I was coming back from physical therapy, and I decided to get off of the bus at 62nd Street to stop. And as I was walking down, there was a class in front of a mural that's already painted on that wall. I never knew anything about San Juan Hill. I knew nothing about the history I've just seen here, but it's still sitting there right now. It's painted on the wall, and the teacher was talking to students, maybe from the high school right down the street. It's sitting there right now, and now I come by. I went back by a second time to read everything there, and the history was all described in this mural. I don't know who painted it, but it's sitting there right now.
That's great, Stanley. That's a good advertisement for your film. We have another question here.
Hi. Because Leonard Bernstein is music, and of course it's an integral part of the whole story, but nothing in the film actually represented him or what his feelings were writing West Side Story about it. I know it's not part of the storyline, so to speak, but can you enlighten us at all about anything you discovered? I mean, did he have strong feelings about it? Or was it the creative musical experience, basically?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I really don't know anything about that. So yeah, I just can't answer that question because I don't know.
Okay, here, right here.
Hello, Stanley. My name's Greg. You've done something wonderful for the history of New York City and for history in general by creating this wonderful film. And I'm curious, in terms of all that you learned about what had gone on in the creation of Lincoln Center, is there, in addition to the removal of the wall, which is, such an obvious barrier, having, been around that area for my whole life, just such an obvious thing, is there another element that you would like to see changed as a result of your deep research?
No, I mean, I think that there's just so much that you can do. I think that one of the things that Lincoln Center is doing is collecting oral histories, and pictures and memories of people while they can. We have to remember that Lincoln Center was built over 65 years ago, so most of the people unfortunately have passed away who lived there. But I think they're gathering as much as they can. I just want to say one of the kind of strange things is that I went to high school for a year, ninth grade, on Brandeis High, which was had been Commerce on 65th and Amsterdam, like right on the corner, right where Juilliard stands now. So as we were making this film, it was very strange because so many times I would, be on the same street corners that I was on when I was in ninth grade.
Yes.
And when I was going there in ninth grade, nobody ever mentioned San Juan Hill at all.
So a full circle, Stanley.
Yeah.
We had some other questions. We have one here.
Hi, Stanley. I want to say thank you so much for making this film. It was very informative and really highlighted the families that went through this. I wanted to pose the question if Lincoln Center ever made talks about giving reparations to the families that are still around from San Juan Hill, or donating to the projects that are on the other side of the wall and making them more in livable conditions, along with if you are ever planning on making a documentary around Seneca Village.
I have no plans to make a documentary on Seneca Village, although if there was enough material, it's an incredible story. Seneca Village is an African American community that was torn apart to build Central Park. And no, I have no idea of the further plans beyond collecting the memories and trying to find as many people as they can who were part of San Juan Hill in the San Juan Hill neighborhood.
Right. Yes?
That was a really moving experience. I'm grateful to you for illuminating it. It's heartbreaking, really. What prompted the heightened moral consciousness of the people in Lincoln Center's administration? I can't wrap my head around it.
I don't know. I think that one of the things that we call it kind of, I don't know, jokingly, the George Floyd moment. There was a moment in time where institutions and people, after the murder of George Floyd, were kind of looking at themselves in a different way than they had looked at themselves. Maybe it came out of that moment, maybe not. But I think that it's part of what was happening, a couple of years ago, where people were looking at themselves and looking at their institutions, in a way that they hadn't looked at before.
Good evening. I have two questions that are very short. Are the Amsterdam buildings still there?
Yes.
Okay, that's that one.
But answer that's very short.
Okay, and what are you going to work on next? What are you working on now?
We just finished a film that premiered at Museum of Modern Art on Thursday called We Want the Funk. And it's a movie about funk music. And it'll be on PBS. I think it's April 13th, but look for it in April. It's really hilarious. It's really, and it's really fun, and and I think we all need some fun and funk in our lives right now.
Yes, we do, Stanley. We have a question back here.
Yes, first of all, it is a remarkable recapturing of our collective history. People have to be honest. How many people here have also enjoyed programs at Lincoln Center? And to what extent is that institution a contribution to the city? What I am puzzled by, why Fordham University? Why the luxury apartment buildings? Was there any debate at the time about focusing just on destroying what had to be destroyed for Lincoln Center and leaving the other areas? Why did Fordham get this juicy piece of property, and whoever the owner of the luxury apartments are get to make all the money out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I truthfully don't know the ins and outs of the debates and what went on at that time. But I think that part of the whole idea of urban renewal was that these neighborhoods needed to be destroyed, and that that there was no harm in tearing them down and building something new in their places. And it happened, at Lincoln Center. This is a great example of that, but it happened in other places all around the country.
One more question? Yep. You have one right here. You have one here, and then Tony, you.
Great views of old New York. Do you know where most or big chunks of the residents moved to?
No, but they have tried to document that at Lincoln Center. And Lincoln Center has great website and great websites about and lots more information about San Juan Hill and the destruction and where people went. But I think that people were very spread out. It wasn't like they were going to take 80% of the people or 50% of the people and take them to one place. It was more catch as catch can, and I think that's one of the tragedies of what happened to San Juan Hill.
Okay, one last question, Stanley.
Excuse me. I'm glad you got the Robert Moses part of the story,
Yes.
which is really the satanic part of it, and how he combined great wealth, the Rockefellers, for example, and really pulled this whole thing off. I think it's very much parallel to what we're looking at today with an unelected guy there, richest man in the country, and the president takes over Kennedy Center. It's interesting. We're sort of back in an era that created what you just filmed. Anyway, thank you for doing that and getting that important motivational little element of information to us.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much. I think one of the things is that, we all, a lot of us have read about Robert Moses, but when you see him, and you see, just the meanness, and the venom that he spouts, it's just amazing. Also, you say, that this guy is the richest man in the country. One of the people I work with told me yesterday that he's now officially the richest man in the history of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Campaign finance reform, right? Came and went. So, Stanley, I think that's it. Thank you again so much for making this film.
Oh, thank you all so much for having me here and for watching. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't make it out there and be with you in person.
Well, this is a good close-up, Stanley. We appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great rest of the weekend.
All right, thank you again.